Hello friends, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be doing a review as well as a demo and showing a couple of looks, two looks, that I have done using the Violet Voss Essentials Pro Series eyeshadow palette. I received this in my September Boxyluxe. I've been playing with this for a couple of weeks now, and I've been playing with it in terms of making looks, but also in terms of wearing it for full days to see how well this lasts, all of that. Yeah, I have thoughts to share. But before we do that, let's talk about what this palette is. It is a 10-pan palette. It is an equal mix of metallics and mattes. This is, as I said, called the Essential Palette, and you do get pops of color as well as neutrals in here. If you go to Violet Voss's website, they are saying this is $29 US. Similar palettes, but not quite this palette, but the same layout and everything from Violet Voss on the Sephora website in Canada are $25. And it appears you can also currently buy this right now on BoxyCharm's website for $12. I don't know if you need to be a BoxyCharm subscriber to be able to get that deal, but if you do decide you like this palette, you can currently get it for like half the regular price on BoxyCharm's site. There's not too much more to say about it than that. Even on Violet Voss's website, they just say like one line about how it's like a beautiful mix of colors or something like that. So let's get into swatches and then I will get into some looks. As far as swatches and shade names go, this is kind of a tell it as it is palette. This is cream, this is sand, this is terracotta, this is gold, emerald, pink, dusty rose, plumberry, cinnamon, and black. Sorry for going a bit out of focus there. I find these all work quite well. The only thing I would say is plumberry can pull a little dark rather than metallic. Come on, focus. There are all the shades. I have my base on being just my foundation, concealer, powder, and some bronzer. And my brows. I'm gonna hold off on doing blush and lipstick and everything until after I'm done my eyes, just so I can make sure everything goes together. I'm gonna start with my MAC Paint Pot for priming. I do find that these shadows do well with a little bit of a sticky base. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of this to provide that base and also cancel out any lines and veins and redness on my lids. This eye here is being a little problematic and watery today, but we'll deal with that as we go. I just find sometimes when this eye is watering, it makes things look a little patchy because sometimes it makes the shadows a bit damp. I'm going to be doing a warmer toned look today that is very wearable. So just to give you an idea of what I'm going to be doing, it's going to be somewhat of a halo eye effect where I'm going to be using the Dusty Rose for sort of shading. I'm going to be using the Plumberry here as the inner and outer darker shade, and then pink as the highlight shade, and I might use a touch of that cream just as a little extra highlight. I'm going to start by doing sort of a crease shade just to give my eyes a bit of definition, and I'm doing that, as I mentioned, with the Dusty Rose color. I'm just using sort of a fluffy brush. This is a Luxie tapered blending brush. And this is going to be different for everyone. You kind of got to get to know your eyes. I have hooded eyes, so if I'm not doing this, if I'm just looking at you like normal, I just want a little bit of the shading to show. So that I don't have like color all the way up to my brow bone. So I sort of need to relax my eyes as I'm doing this and decide where I want it to go and then start blending. So to start with, I'm going into like my actual crease, and I just bring the color up a little bit where my eye tends to relax. So you can see just a little bit of the color there. Now, some people don't bring the darker shade all the way into the inner part of their eye because they don't want their eyes to look closed in, so they keep the darker colors to the outside. My eyes are quite far apart, so I don't mind bringing the color in a little bit to bring my eyes a little visually closer together. And as I'm doing this, I'm just relaxing every now and then my eyes and seeing what it looks like, you know, when my eyes are relaxed. And I'll just also bring it down just a touch onto the lid here, just to make sure everything sort of flows together nicely. So that's that eye. You can see it's very subtle, but you can just see a bit of the pink when my eye is relaxed. And I'll just do the other side as well. I don't know if it's a hooded eye problem that when my eye gets watery, it sort of pulls the moisture up onto my lid, which wreaks havoc on my eyeshadows. So there we go, I've kind of got the crease definition going. I'm mostly, I think, going to use my finger for the plumberry color, the one right there, because it is that metallic shade and it seems to do better that way, and I get pretty good control with my finger. So I'm just going to be using my pinky, going into plumberry, and I'm going to be tapping it on the inner and outer corners of my eyes. And I'm just keeping it sort of down on the mobile part of the lid. And I will go in with a brush and blend it as well. And you're basically trying to leave a little bit of a space there for the spotlight of a lighter color. I always get out of frame when I do this. I'm sorry, I end up concentrating and like pushing my head down. For me, in the way I like to do my shadows, I don't necessarily want when I'm looking at you to see all of this color, but when I blink or look down, there's a little bit of extra color and interest on my lids. So, now that I've built that up a bit, I can take a fluffy brush and I can just use the same one here, going back into Dusty Rose and just sort of blending where the Dusty Rose and the plum meet. And what I'm trying to do is not blend too far down, because if I blend, the metallicness of that shade kind of fades away. So I'm just trying to blend the edges. And I keep jamming the end of my brush into the palette, which is not awesome. For me and the way my lids are, because I have this epithelial fold, I'll often need to sort of like pull this away and then go in and get the color in that inner part. You know, it really helps to watch tutorials and see other people do their lids, but everybody's eye shape is unique and you sort of need to experiment and find out what works for you. So now that I have the plumberry down, again, I'm using my fingers here. I'm going to go into that pink with a clean finger and just tap it right in the center for that bright effect. And just tap it around and up to blend it with the plumberry. Now if I wanted to, I could go into that cream shade there and just use that right along the lash line to give a little extra pop of brightness in the center of my lid. There we go. And what I will do as well is do a little bit of that plumberry underneath my lash line. So I'm going to take a flat brush here. This is the Step 3 brush from the Vintage, and I'm going to tap it off. These are not super dusty shades, but I just want to make sure I'm not getting too much under my lash line. Of course you can't see that because I'm looking down while I do it. Now, if I wanted more blending on my lower lash line, I'd probably go in with, maybe I will, I'll go into that Dusty Rose and use that to blend the plumberry out a little bit. And the final thing I'm going to do is take a little tiny pencil brush. This is a crown brush, C513 if you care. And I'm going to go into the cream shade there, which is like the highlight shade. And I'm going to go into my inner corner, but also along my bottom lash line. This is where I definitely need a mirror to be able to do this that will stand on its own. Again, with my epithelial fold, I kind of move my skin out of the way a little bit so I can get the highlight right in there. And then also along my bottom lash line on the inside. Just for a bit of extra brightness. Okay, I am going to go finish my lips and my cheeks and do some mascara to bring this look together, and I will be right back. And here we are with the final look, a pink halo eye. I just did a little bit of pink blush and a pink metallic lip to go with this, and a lot of mascara. I did not end up using eyeliner just so I wouldn't cover any of the color that I had put on there, and I will zoom you in for a look. Hey guys, so I just wanted to pop in here and show you a second look. I was playing around with the palette and I ended up doing something that I quite liked, and I wanted to show you it because I'm not usually a eyeshadow person. I tend to do makeup that looks very natural. I would love it if somebody looked at me and thought that I wasn't wearing makeup. I mean, apart from eyeliner and that kind of thing. But you don't need to be afraid of color. Color doesn't have to be like punch you in the face, over the top, people looking and going, oh my God, what did that girl do with her, you know, makeup today? Although that's cool too. I have days where I do that. But this look right here I did with the palette, and it's green and gold. And those are colors that can be a little scary, but I'll zoom you in and show you what I did. So when I have my eyes open, you can see a little bit of the tinge of the green and sort of the gold on my lid there. I basically took the emerald shade from this palette and I put down to start with a base. So I used a MAC paint pot, and then I have hooded eyes. So I need to be really careful about where my eyeshadow placement is. So I took that emerald color on a fluffy brush, a pretty small fluffy brush, and sort of sat with my eyes naturally relaxed and just started to build up the shade in my crease there, just up to the point where when I sort of relax and look naturally, that you can just see the littlest bit of a hint of green nicely framing where my eye crease usually is. And once I was able to build that up, and you know, I did it with a shimmer color. It doesn't have to be a matte color in your crease. Once I had built that up and blended it, I then went in just with my finger with the gold here, and the shade is just called Gold. I was kind of thinking of like a peacock gold and green kind of thing. And I just used my pinky finger to pat that all along the actual lid. And then I did the same thing with my pinky in the green and went over it there. And I then took the cream color there and patted just a little bit in the middle of my lid to give it a little bit more pop. And then used a small brush to use some as the inner corner highlight. And I then used a bit of the gold and a bit of the green smudged underneath, not a lot. And that is this look. And I would feel totally fine going out like daytime with this. I didn't end up putting any liner on because I didn't want to cover the colors that were there. And when I relax my face, I have so little, actually, partly when I relax my face, you can't see my lids at all. But, you know, if I put liner there, you definitely wouldn't see anything. And yeah, I like the way it came out. So there is a look that I would feel totally comfortable wearing out in the daytime. I don't feel like this is over the top. And I did it with bold shades that were all shimmers, no mattes. So you can play around with how you apply, with the pressure, how you blend, and play with fun colors without it feeling like it's a really like in-your-face kind of look. For this palette, would I recommend it? Yes, I would. I really like the formula of the Violet Voss shadows. I do find that it takes a little bit of getting used to. I almost want to say that at first they can be a little dry, but I do sometimes feel like once you get past the first layer of shadow, they're much more pigmented, but they also aren't going to be like the mattes, at least. I find the metallics are like wham, they're on, they're beautiful. With the mattes, it feels like you maybe need to build them a bit, but then they last. And they blend beautifully and they are wonderful. And this is the kind of palette that I like to see. To me, this is very much essentials. Like, I think too often we think of essentials and we're like, give me a bunch of mattes and browns and that. And that's fine, but to me that gets boring. And when you look at a palette like this, it's like you do have your dusty rose and your sand and your warm color and your brown and your black and this cream as a highlight and a gold. Like, there's things in there to do very neutral looks if you like to do neutral looks. At the same time, you have, you know, pink and emerald and plum and, you know, those colors in there that are going to make it interesting for you. I can continue to go back to this palette and make new looks with it. You know, with the emerald gold and the purple and the pink together, you can get a real like nice mermaidy or peacock look. If you want to do oranges and golds, you can go and do that. If you want to do something really dark and smoky, you can. If you want to do something green, something purple, like these are the kind of palettes I like where there is just so much you can do with them, so many combinations. And you could use this just as easily for makeup to wear to a very businessy conservative office, or you could do like wham, out on the town, want my makeup to be over the top. And to me, that's what essentials or like one-shot palette should be, because if you have somebody in your life who is just getting into makeup, if they are wanting some of their first palettes, this will let them play around with it for a long time. I compare this to the other Violet Voss palette that I have, which is an HG palette, Holy Grail palette, and it's, you know, I think 2 times the number of shades that are in here, and I don't feel like I can get nearly as much variety because they're all neutrals. Whereas this, I can just keep playing and playing and playing with. So I would recommend it. If you like the look of this, I think you can maybe buy it through the BoxyCharm site right now for cheap, but otherwise, you know, this is a $25 palette around that. If you go onto Sephora to their Violet Voss area, I don't think they have this palette, but they do have some of these mini palettes for $25 Canadian. There are some that are very bright, there are some that are very neutral, and I would recommend them. I think they're really good. But I would love to hear from you guys. If you receive BoxyCharm, if you get this palette, what you think of it, whether you like the pops of color in there, whether you prefer something neutral. Let me know all of that in the comments down below. I do try to respond to as many comments as possible, especially now that my life has calmed down a little bit. If you've not yet subscribed to my channel and you want to see more reviews and lifestyle stuff and whatnot from me, please subscribe. Like this video if you enjoyed it. That helps out my channel, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye!